and declare this a year of citizen action for change. However, before I outline the major pillars, which are 5 pillars of this Agenda 2022, let me begin by presenting the context and circumstances within which this address is located. The past year has been a difficult year, just like many others before it. In fact, we have had 2 decades of challenges. The socio-economic situation in our country, facing an average Zimbabwean, has worsened instead of improving. Inflation stands at more than 60%. Our unemployment rate is still upwards, with a conservative figure of about 80%, if not more, and rising even by the day. Our businesses continue to close down, and more graduates leave colleges and universities. But they join the streets with the cost of living increasing each and every day, with millions barely being able to make ends meet. The Zimbabwe dollar, which was ambitiously pegged at an equal of the US dollar just a couple of years ago to a dollar, is now trading at more than $230 to a US dollar. Yet, the unelected in government continue to misbegottedly continue to rely on the false interbank rate, which is only fueling accumulation by the parasitic elites who are bent on rent-seeking, racketeering, and who are exploiting that gap, exploiting the poor. Wages and pensions have also remained very low, seriously low, causing serious hardships for a few that are still unemployed, including our pensioners who are really struggling and find it hard to live in our country. From an economic front, as a result of the board policies from the current administration, the general population has suffered from what I call the current cycles, which is a new phenomenon developed in Zimbabwe, where we have hip-hopped from Zimbabwe dollar to the US dollar, then back to the Zimbabwe dollar, and again to the US dollar, with no sign in end. It has become a roller coaster ride. We are moving like up and down. Sadly, our savings and pensions and cash flows have been wiped out. Not one single citizen is not a victim of our government. You have a grievance against the government because of being driven into deadening poverty and the challenges that we have faced. Those of our young men and women who are leaving colleges with degrees and diplomas, even with distinctions, only join our brothers and sisters on the streets as yet again an addition to the battalion of the unemployed, and the desperate situation then kicks in. We are looking at this with understanding that the ambition of every young person is to leave the country. That's an undesirable situation. The queues you see at the offices of government are all an indication of young people who are trying to go for the greener pastures. Why? Because our pastures have been turned dry by government, by the administration. The education sectors are not functioning. Education, which is particularly crucial, has been destroyed. And you know that education is the future. You destroy education, you have destroyed the future. Education gives you a chance. Education gives you a choice. Education gives you hope because it gives you opportunities. That is what will make an equalizer between the son and daughter of a peasant and the son and daughter of a miner. That is why education is important. But we've destroyed it. It's hard to imagine the state it would be if it were not for the assistance from the development partners. And I must thank all the development partners who have come on board to help us as a country. Thank you. Instead of fighting them, suspecting them, or doubting them, we must appreciate their coming at this crucial time of need. Yet corruption continues to fester across the public sector. The country is ranked number 157 out of the 180 countries on the Transparency International's Corruption Perceptions Index. We saw numerous reports of corruption in 2021. We saw what happened in gold, the detailing of the activities of the cartels that are bleeding our country dry. We have criminals and dealers and diggers, almost circling the carcass of government. We also have witnessed rural communities being threatened with the removal of from their ancestral land. You know what happened in Dinde, you know what happened in Chirezi, you know what happened in Mtoko, Uzumba. And we've seen that the politically connected are the ones who are benefiting out of it, almost emptying our independence of its essence. The amount of resources that are being mortgaged to foreign dealers is unbelievable and incredible, staggering, and it's actually a clear threat, not just to the stability of our nation, but also to our collective national interest and the future of our children. At a time when the country is in dire need of political and capital support, it is actually very unfortunate that we are now blaming all our failures on others. Yet, we are losing close to about 1.8 billion annually due to what we call illicit financial flows. Our finger is pointing at all others except ourselves, when in fact we know that we are the authors of our own demise because of corruption. The human rights situation continues to worsen. Itai Dzamara has not been accounted for, and it's years after the abduction was instituted. In 2018, you know that we lost Zimbabweans, 6 people who were killed in cold-blooded murder, while scores were injured. In 2019, 14 people were also killed in cold-blooded murder, with scores who were also injured. There was use of excessive force by the state against the citizens. None of these perpetrators have been held to account despite the recommendation from the Motlanthe Commission. None in government has decided to visit the victims or care to apologize either to the nation or to the affected families. I know that the government has not visited you. I visited some of you. Unsurprisingly, we are now ranked at 127 out of 139 on the World Justice for Peace Rule of Law Index. We are ranked 30 out of 33 countries in the sub-Saharan region, literally becoming the sick man of the region. Zimbabwe must be cured. This is a terrible record, which does not continue to be there if we have to deal with the issue of dealing with the reputation to invite our investors. The poor socio-economic conditions continue to push citizens into poverty. And that's why you have seen the official statistics from Zimsters and the World Bank has shown that 49% of the population, almost 7.9 million people, including all of you here present, are in extreme poverty. We are all in extreme poverty, but we have a minority that is enjoying the cream of our country. Resultantly, men are still migrating to the neighboring countries in search of greener pastures. It is highly undignified that we have had to become a nuisance to the neighbors and a laughingstock among peers. Wherever people are going, we are being treated like lepers. Thanks to a bad governance system we have in the country, the corruption that is in the country, and a dysfunctional economic system, the breakdown of the rule of law, and the rigging of elections. This is what is driving a lot of people away. Citizens are in difficult circumstances. Our people are wandering as wanderers in foreign lands because of severe lack of leadership at home. Nevertheless, we continue to pay our tribute to fellow citizens in the diaspora who, despite all these challenges, have become a critical lifeline, not only to the struggling families, but also to the entire nation. They've also represented us very well wherever they've gone. They've become our de facto ambassadors because of the greatness that they've exhibited. You know, Zimbabweans were great and a smart people. You know it, and thank you for being this wonder. On the home front, it is hard to imagine how most families would have survived without managing with the help that is coming from the diaspora. Thank you, those who are in the diaspora. You have been our top foreign currency earner, and we thank you for supporting us. In 2020, we had 1 billion coming from the diaspora, and this figure went up in 2021 to about 1.4 billion. Despite the challenges of the COVID-19 pandemic, we've done very well. You have done very well. Thank you, diaspora. Thank you, Zimbabwe. Despite this, we have seen that their rise, especially the diasporans, to citizenship, has not been respected, despite their sterling contribution to the economy. As you know, this old adage that says there can never be taxation without representation. You find that we are so eager to tax our diasporans, benefit from them, but we do not want them to be represented or even to represent themselves. It's a shame that citizens in the diaspora have no right to vote. This is against SADC guidelines and what is happening on the African continent and the world over. Our diasporans are disenfranchised, discarded, and ignored. We acknowledge the challenges that we continue to face, especially in terms of the plight of our business community. Workers, senior citizens, war veterans, the young people, especially you, the youth, the general populace. We have now placed you at the center of this Agenda 2022. For years now, we have realized that businesses have suffered from drastic and draconian policies which have been meted out on most enterprises. Some have closed shop. For years, workers have been retrenched. For years, youth and war veterans have received empty promises and have empty pockets. And in a number of times, some have been arrested, harassed for demanding a better wage and a better life. Civil servants continue to be subjected to a lot of suffering. They deserve their dignity back. We know that our senior citizens are living in dire poverty despite making contributions for years and years. But if you look at them, they have nothing to show for it in their post-retirement phase. It's a sad situation, something we must correct, and we will correct.